So I had a breakfast meeting with one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country. This man was in the top 1% of the 1%. And I asked him one simple question. I said, so listen, why do so many successful men feel so energized at work, but feel exhausted at home? They're crushing it at work. They're getting promotions, their leadership roles, business growth. But when they walk through the front door, they're empty. They're short-tempered. They're disconnected. They're numb. And you know what he said? The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your energy. And the truth is, most of these men aren't feeling this way because of too much work. They're living in an energy vacuum. And if you don't understand how energy works, you will slowly bleed your life away through stress, distraction, and exhaustion. So he showed me that day, he showed me one simple tool that will teach you how to get your energy back where it matters most. And it blew my mind. And in this episode, I'm going to teach you exactly what he taught me, which is a simple framework you can implement to protect your energy, generate more of it, and reclaim the life that you actually want to live. Welcome to the Dad Nation podcast, the place where high-performing men are empowered to reclaim their home, their health, and their happiness while enhancing their career success. You see, in a world full of noise, burnout, and mediocrity, we believe what's missing is courageous and compassionate leadership in the home, because when the dad gets better, the whole family wins. You see, this isn't just a podcast. It's a movement for men who refuse to settle for less in their families, in their focus, and their future. We are curse breakers and we are legacy makers. I am your host, Mitchell Osmond, and I'm honored that you've chosen to invest your most valuable asset, which is your time, with me today. Now let's get into it. All right, welcome to the Dad Nation podcast, brother. And if this is your first time listening, this is the show for career-driven family men who want to win and work and win at home. Because success means nothing if the people you love the most feel like they're getting the leftovers. And today we're going to talk about something that almost every man I work with is struggling with. Energy. Not time, energy. Because you do not experience life through time. You experience life through energy. You see, you could have the entire weekend free, but if you're mentally drained and emotionally exhausted, that time means nothing. And right now, we are living in one of the most burned out generations in history. A recent Deloitte study found that 77% of professionals report experiencing burnout in their current job. What do you think about that? 3 out of 4 people are operating in some level of exhaustion today. And it doesn't stop there. The American Psychological Association reports that 76% of adults experience physical symptoms of stress. What are those? They're things like headaches, fatigue, muscle tension, digestive issues, sleep problems. And in other words, your body keeps the score of stress. Also, that's a great book, by the way. If you haven't read it yet, check it out. Your body keeps a score. Now, listen, stress isn't just mental. It becomes physical. Like I said, it affects your immune system. It affects your hormones, your emotional regulation. And this is where it gets really important for married men specifically, because according to research from the Journal of Family Psychology, shows that chronic workplace stress significantly increases marital conflict. And another statistic shows that financial stress plays a role in roughly 37% of divorces. Stress. So let me translate that into plain English for you. When your stress goes up, your marriage health goes down. When your energy drops, your patience drops. When your emotional control drops, your presence drops. Now, here's why this is a problem. Because eventually most men cope with this stress, not in a healthy way. They cope with it by something called escaping or consuming. Okay? This is scrolling, drinking, eating, video gaming, numbing out, But those things don't restore your energy. They just delay the crash. And I want you to hear me say this today, but as men, we were not designed to consume. We were designed to do the opposite. We were designed to produce, to develop, to build, to serve. So today I want to show you a better system. It's going to be 2 strategies. Number 1, you're going to play defense. And number 2, you're going to play offense. So first, we're going to play defense by protecting our energy. We're going to protect home base. And number two, we're going to play defense or offense by generating more of it. So let's jump into part one, okay, playing defense. Because listen, most high-performing men obsess about productivity. I know I do. And if you are a very career-driven man, high-capacity man, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Constantly optimizing your life. But here's the thing. We fall into the trap of we ignore energy protection, right? But if you don't protect your energy, everything drains it. Your phone, your job, your relationships, your commitments, your habits. And the first place this shows up is how men try to recover. So we can't have this conversation about recovery without talking about this concept of energizers versus escapes. I think I introduced this in the very first few episodes of the podcast. But here's how it works. Every man needs to honestly ask himself this question. When I rest, am I actually restoring my energy, or am I just escaping? Because here's the thing, energizers and escapes look very similar on the surface, but they produce very different outcomes. You see, an energizer is something that actually refuels you, okay? It's things like going for a walk outside, journaling, having meaningful conversations, maybe reading a book or reading scripture, creative hobbies, physical exercise, having time with your kids. These activities fill your bucket. But an escape does something different. An escape distracts you, but it doesn't restore you. Escapes include things like mindless scrolling, binging Netflix, emotional eating, drinking too much, excessive video gaming, compulsive shopping, avoiding your responsibilities. And here's the thing. Escapes are tricky because escapes feel like rest, but they aren't. They are numbing mechanisms, and they simply pause the exhaustion, but they don't refill your tank. You see, there's nothing regenerative about escapes. So what happens is you wake up the next morning still empty. And so the cycle repeats. And what happens when you don't fill your bucket and you wake up empty? Well, you got to serve your family. You got to go to work. You got to serve, you got to pour into yourself, but you can't because your fuel tank is on empty. So you start trying to operate out of a place of depletion and deficiency. What happens? Right? Our emotional capacity limits, our physical capacity limits, our stress capacity limits, and we burn out. We lose our passion. And the cycle repeats itself over and over and over again, which is why every man needs to do something called the energy audit. So we're going to do this today. If you want to reclaim your energy, you first have to see where it's going. It's the same thing with finances. If you want to save a bunch of money, you have to understand and see where it's going. Because if you don't know where it's going, then how do you know how to save it and how to invest it, right? So when it comes to energy, here's an exercise that I've used with many of my one-to-one clients, okay? So I want you to take out a notebook, real simple, and you're going to create two columns, right, like a T. One column is going to be energizers. The next column is going to be escapes. Now, I want you to track your activities for the next week and ask yourself this: what are you actually doing that's energizing you? And what are really escapes, but maybe you've convinced yourself that they're energizers? Now, you have to be honest with yourself, or this exercise doesn't really work, right? So this leads me to my next question. This is a tough question for some of you. What are you currently calling rest, quote unquote, that's actually avoidance? What are you avoiding? Right? This level of honesty is the first step toward reclaiming your energy and reclaiming your life. So now you're going to make this list and you're going to identify what are things that are energizing you, what are things that are escapes. Right? The next thing we want to do is identify what I call energy vampires. Vampires suck your blood. Energy vampires suck your energy. And once you identify where your energy is draining or leaking, you start setting boundaries. Okay, so we're going to talk about 3 kinds of boundaries that you need to set in order to protect your energy and play defense, right? Number 1 are relational boundaries. And yes, there are energy vampires in your life. And a lot of times they're your friends, and a lot of times they're your family. Okay, some relationships drain you of your energy. You know You know who I'm talking about. A name is coming to your mind. A face is coming to your mind. It's like when they send you a text, you're like, oh, here we go again. Right? When they start calling, you're like, oh, man, do I want to take this call? Or they invite you to go out and you hear that they're going to show up and you're like, man, I don't want to sit by them because I'm going to be drained. Y'all have them, okay? These people aren't bad, right? But because they constantly drain your emotional energy, they're very demanding of your energy, right? And if you never set boundaries, you will eventually resent these people that are around you, that are energy vampires, right? But sometimes boundaries mean saying no. And sometimes they mean protecting family time. Sometimes they mean limiting certain conversations. Hey, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to go there. Now, we would all agree that it's important to protect your calendar, but few people actually take it to the next level and protect their energy. The people who are doing the greatest things, the people who are the most energetic, the most productive, the most on fire are the people who protect their energy. Relational boundaries. Set them up, okay? Second boundary you need to set to play defense is a digital boundary. Now listen, we are living in a time of digital deluge. That term was coined by Jim Quick, who wrote a book called Limitless. He talks about digital deluge, digital dementia, and all the different ways that the digital world affects us. But the word deluge literally means to be flooded with an overwhelming amount of something. Right? And so that is exactly what modern life feels like. You see, in the US today, the average person spends just over 8 hours a day on screens. 2 of those 8 hours are spent on social media. And that's just the median, okay? That's the median. The average person checks their phone over 85 times per day. And one study found, this is crazy, one study found that we now consume the equivalent of 140 newspapers worth of information every single day. We are inundated by data, by information. We are living in digital deluge. Listen, your brain was never designed for that. Cal Newport writes in his book, Digital Minimalism, we are not wired to be constantly wired. There is no off switch. There is no check out. You're stuck, right? Unless you set up a boundary. But what do we do instead? Right? Many of us wake up and the first thing we do, what do? Check our phone. Right? We spend the entire day reacting to notifications and then wonder why our brain feels so fried at the end of the day. But listen, you cannot reclaim your energy without reclaiming your attention. Okay? Digital boundaries. The third boundary that I want you to set is a career boundary. I know all you career-driven guys are like, whoa. I mean, I can cut out the energy vampires. I can cut out, the smartphone, but don't tell me not to work. Don't tell me to set up boundaries there. I got to answer the phone when the boss calls. Listen, we all believe this lie, right? I'm going to rest later. Later when the project finishes. Later when the business grows and I can finally slow down. Later when the promotion happens. But the problem is, later rarely comes. And what happens? Your nervous system eventually forces recovery through burnout. And as one of my mentors said, you can either lay down or you can let life lay you down. But either way, you're going to lay down. So we got to reinvent our relationship with rest. Rest is not weakness, okay? Rest is biological maintenance. Without it, your system breaks down. Those are the ways that you can play defense in protecting your energy. Now let's talk about part number 2, which is how to play offense, which is how to generate more energy. Hey, brother, let me ask you something. And I want you to really think about this. Are you winning at work, but quietly kind of losing ground at home? Maybe you're the guy people rely on. You stay calm in meetings. You carry that pressure all day. And you kind of wear that like a badge of honor. But maybe when you walk through the front door at home, your wife feels distant. Conversations feel shorter. And instead of being excited to come home, maybe work feels easier. Nothing is broken, but something is slowly drifting. And if you're telling yourself right now, I'm going to fix this when things slow down, or I'm going to fix this when things get easier, if you're honest with yourself, you already know they won't slow down. They won't get easier. Well, the high-performance husband is for men who are done coasting. It's for men who want to win at home like they win at work. You see, this isn't therapy. It's not about fixing your wife. It's not for men who want quick hacks. It's for men who want to be calm under pressure, strong in their body, clear in their thinking, and to become the man that your wife and kids look up to with pride. So if you're listening to this and you know that what got you here won't get you where you want to go, I want you to go to dadnationco.com/accelerator or click the link in the show notes below, and then you can apply to join this accelerator and join myself and many other like-minded men who are leveling up in their home, in their health, and their happiness. They're winning all year long. It's a 12-month mentorship. It's going to change your life. All right, now let's jump back into the episode. Those are the ways that you can play defense in protecting your energy. Now let's talk about part number 2, which is how to play offense, which is how to generate more energy. And there are 3 powerful ways to do this. Okay, number 1, sleep. Listen, we've talked about this before. I talk about this often because it's one of the simplest levers we can pull. It's one of the easiest things. It's an easy win. It's the low-hanging fruit. Listen, sleep is not passive. Sleep is one of the most active repair processes in the human body. And here's some crazy things that happen when you sleep, okay? During your sleep, your brain activates something called the glymphatic system, which literally clears waste products from the brain. And so the idea here is that throughout the day, your brain builds up something called, it's cellular waste, and it's called amyloid beta. All right. Now, when you go to sleep, your brain actually does the equivalent of like a laundry cycle, right? And then clears out that cellular waste. The crazy fact here. I'm a bit of a geek, but there's been a bunch of Alzheimer's and early onset of dementia in my family, so I've studied it a lot. So I'm really kind of obsessed with brain health. But when neuroscientists have studied the brains of people with dementia and Alzheimer's, the common thread that they see is that there is an excessive buildup of amyloid beta in their brain. So what does that tell you? I mean, it sounds a little bit dramatic, but if you don't want to lose your mind prematurely, get some sleep. Let your brain clean out that cellular waste. Here are some other things that happen when you sleep. Your memories consolidate. Your hormones regulate. Actually, your testosterone peaks during your sleep. You want recovery. You want to have higher testosterone levels. You want to grow bigger muscles than when you're working out in the gym. Let them recover. Get the most benefit of that peaked testosterone during the night. Your emotional processing resets while you sleep. But if you sleep poorly, everything suffers. Decision-making, patience, focus, even your testosterone levels drop. That's one of the biggest levers you can pull to increase your testosterone, is to get more sleep. So in other words, less sleep makes you a worse leader, a worse husband, and a father, which is why I recommend grab your pen, make a note, pause the episode, whatever. I recommend a 3-2-1 rule. Okay. Now, if you're a long-time listener of the show, you would have heard me talk about this once or twice before. But again, very simple framework that can change the game for you. And it's simple. 3 hours before bed, I want you to stop eating. All right. This allows your digestive system to slow down so that your body can focus on recovery. You will sleep so much better if you go to bed at 10 and you stop eating at 7, right? I'm telling you, man. So 3 hours before the bed, stop eating. 2 hours before bed, stop drinking. Stop drinking water specifically. And this is to prevent yourself from getting up and going to the bathroom, or you want to stay asleep as much as possible. But also, please, for the love of all that is good and holy, please stop drinking alcohol or coffee late at night. These massively disrupt your sleep cycles. Listen, the half-life for caffeine is 6 to 7 hours, okay? Now, this actually means that it can take up to 12 hours before it's completely out of your system. So if you want to get a good sleep, don't have any coffee after 12 p.m. If you have a coffee at 7 p.m., that caffeine still has half of its potency in your system at 2 a.m. You think you're going to get a good sleep like that? Heck no. Right? All right. 2 hours before sleep, stop drinking. 1 hour before bed, ding, ding, ding. Biggest one here. Stop scrolling. Okay. Now, blue light from these screens, especially your cell phones, tablets, all that, it emits blue light. Now, what's the problem with blue light? Well, blue light eliminates your melatonin levels. Now, what is melatonin? Melatonin is your primary sleep hormone. Okay, it's natural. Your body naturally produces it. It peaks in the late hours. So when your melatonin levels are high, it makes you tired. It makes your body wind down and go to sleep. It slows down your mind. But these screens deplete your melatonin levels, and it tells your body, ding, 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 it's time to wake up. Don't go to sleep. Your melatonin levels are low. So what you want to do to avoid that is stop. Let's just turn off your phones. I call it the power down hour. 60 minutes before bed. Put your phone on the charger, put it in the bathroom, put it somewhere else, whatever. Get it away from you and not scrolling, because it's going to help you have a much better sleep. Your melatonin levels would be more regulated. Listen, 3, 2, 1. All right, remember, simple. Sleep isn't a luxury, okay? It is your biological reset button. All right, that's number 1, sleep. Number 2, way to generate more energy is to exercise. Now, a lot of people say, and listen, I've trained a lot of people, all right, physically. I've built nutrition plans, I've built training plans, I've done all that. And a lot of people, that's the most common mistake I get. I don't have energy to work out. You don't have energy to work out? Well, maybe it's backwards. You don't have energy because you're not working out. Working out produces energy. That's the crazy thing about it, right? Exercise is one of the most powerful mental tools and physical tools available to you. Because when you exercise, your body releases powerful neurochemicals like serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine. Now, what are these? What are these neurochemicals? These regulate mood, they increase your focus, they reduce anxiety. Exercise is also known to lower cortisol, which is your primary stress hormone, takes you out of that state of fight or flight, which means physical training doesn't just make you stronger physically, it makes you more resilient emotionally. It makes you able to handle more stress, more pressure, to think creatively, to problem solve, right? In other words, this makes you an all-round better performer at work and at home. Now, the third thing that we can do to generate more energy is really simple. Hey, can I ask you something real quick? If this show has helped you out in any way, if you've gotten any value, clarity, or even just one gut check moment that's made you a better man, husband, or father, would you take 60 seconds and leave us an honest rating or review? And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss a drop. And if you really want to pay it forward, share this episode with a friend. Why? Because we know that there are millions of men out there silently struggling in their marriage, in their health, and in their mindset. Men who maybe were where you were just a few steps ago, feeling tired, stuck, and searching for answers. Finding this podcast might be the thing that changes everything for them. So thank you for being part of this movement and for helping more men become the husbands and fathers their families so desperately need. Now let's get back to the show. Now, the third thing that we can do to generate more energy is really simple. And I just call it your one thing. You got to find your one thing. Now, the reality here is men feel most energized when they are pursuing something meaningful, not just being productive, meaningful. You see, I was stuck in this rut for years. I had no passion, no ambition, no drive. To be honest, I felt a little bit dead on the inside until I read a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And the premise of this book is very, very simple. What is the one thing that you can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? So the whole book takes you on this beautiful journey of whittling away everything that does not give you life, everything that is not serving you, and helps you narrow it down to the one thing that does. Because deep down, all of us are designed to do one thing. And this book helps you find that out. For me personally, one of my biggest energizers is growth. Growth. Learning, building, becoming better, helping others become better. I'm passionate about growth. If we're moving, if we're growing, I'm happy. And here's the crazy thing. Once I started to discover that, as I look back over my life, I had done a bunch of these things. So number one, I was always in positions of leadership, mentoring others, helping others grow in their leadership. I was a music teacher, helping others grow musically. A pastor, helping people grow spiritually. But I didn't consciously realize that, right? And so when I did, I decided to double down on it. Because at that point in my life, I was still doing a ton of other things. There were energy vampires everywhere in my life. And yeah, there were some things that I liked doing, but there were just far too many things that were draining my energy. So hence, here I am today, podcast, helping men grow to be better husbands, better fathers, in better shape, coaching and consulting, helping men grow. Growth. That is my thing. What is your one thing? Now, why is that so important? Because every man needs that something that makes him feel alive, right? The thing that keeps him up at night, the thing that he daydreams about. Because if he doesn't know what that thing is, he gets trapped in this cycle of consumption. Like I said in the very beginning, we were not meant to consume as men. We were meant to create, to build, and to serve. Because when life becomes nothing but maintenance and consumption, your energy disappears. And when you pursue your purpose, your energy returns. You got it? 3 steps. Protect your sleep, work out, exercise, okay? Find your one thing so that everything else in life becomes easier and more fun. Now, let me get to that story that I started to tell you in the beginning of the episode, okay? So I had this meeting with this guy. He built and scaled multiple businesses, incredibly wealthy man. I sit down to have breakfast with him, have this breakfast meeting. He was mentoring me. And I asked him that question, right? What's the biggest takeaway that you can get over all your years of leadership and, building companies and serving people? And I mean, it was an amazing legacy. What's the one thing? What's the transformational lesson? And I was expecting some big, profound thought that would shake me to my core, something that I could pass on to my children, and then they would pass on to their children, something that would create a spark that I would use to light my life on fire. I was getting ready. I had my notepad out, I had my pen out, and he looked at me, and he just grabbed 2 napkins and a pen from the waitress. And on one napkin, he wrote a T, right? Like a pros and cons list, just like the one I was talking about earlier with your energy audit. And on the top of the napkin, he wrote time. And then in each column, he wrote giving and taking. So this one napkin was what's giving me time, what's taking my time. The second napkin, he wrote on the top of the napkin, energy. And it did the same, created 2 columns, giving and taking. And then he slides the napkins over to me. And so calmly he says, you know what I've been doing for the last 35 years that has helped me build these businesses and acquire this wealth? He said, I scratch as many things possible off of the taking side, and I add on as many things as I can to the giving side. That's it? I looked at him, I was thinking, that's it? You've founded, scaled, and sold some of the largest companies in the country, and that's your advice on a napkin? And as I was thinking this, he must have predicted what I was thinking, because he chuckled and he said, it's simple, right? And I was still trying to pick my jaw up off the table. But here's the crazy part. I went home and I did it. And let me tell you, my friend, it changed my life. Because after doing this simple time and energy audit, I started scratching off the energy takers, the energy vampires, and the time takers one by one. And then I started adding energy givers and time givers one by one. And wouldn't you know it, week over week, everything started to change. I had more vitality. I had more energy. I had more passion. I had more tenacity. You see, before I started this exercise years ago, my life felt like it was 90% grind and about 10% fun. And now I feel as though 90% of my life is energizing and life-giving, and about 10% feels like the grind. And brother, I'm not exaggerating. I'm for real. I'm a high-capacity guy, and I prided myself in my ability to keep my nose to the grindstone and work till I drop. And it required everything of me. It was exhausting. But here's the thing. Now I've 3, 4, 5x my output, and it doesn't even feel like work because I get sleep, I exercise, I'm operating my one thing. I've gotten the energy vampires out of my life, right? Relationally. I've set up digital boundaries, and I've set up career boundaries. So it worked for me. And I know, my friend, it will work for you too, if you apply it, right? Don't let this be an episode where you just hear it while you're driving and you don't do anything about it. Take it, Take action on it, apply it, and watch this profoundly simple exercise change everything for you too. So before we wrap up the episode, I have 2 simple questions for you, and I want you to think about these. Reflect on these. Reflection is huge. What is an escape in your life that you're currently calling an energizer? Maybe it's food. Maybe you have an emotional relationship with food. Maybe it's spending way too much playing video games. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's having too much to drink. But if it leaves you feeling empty afterward, it's probably an escape, right? And that's the key differentiator here. How do you feel after you did the thing? Do you feel energized, like you could go knock out a great workout? Or do you feel kind of the same or depleted? And that's a telltale sign that you are engaging in escapes. Now, the second question I want you to consider is, and this one's big, and I'll often ask my one-to-one clients this: what good things, or dare I say, what great things do you need to eliminate in your life so you can make room for the best things? Good is the enemy of great, and great is the enemy of the best. A lot of us are doing a lot of really good things. We're not overwhelmed by bad things. We're just overwhelmed by too many of the good things, or even the great things. There's too much. There's too many things. The man who attempts everything accomplishes nothing. Find your one thing. Find the best thing and pursue that with everything you got. Because here's the reality, like I was just alluding to, if everything becomes important, nothing is. That's like if you have too many priorities, nothing is a priority. It's pointless. So listen, friend, I hope you've heard me say this today. You cannot give your family what you do not have. And if your tank is empty, you will bring exhaustion into your marriage. You will bring irritability into your parenting. You will bring numbness into your life. But when you learn to protect your energy, play defense, and you learn to generate more of it, play offense, you bring something different home. Your presence, your strength, your leadership, and most of all, your joy. And that's the kind of man this world needs more of. So I can't teach on a topic like this and not give you this option. Listen, if you are a career-driven man who knows that you've been succeeding in business, but you want to lead your marriage and your family with the same level of intention, that's exactly what we're doing inside the High Performance Husband Accelerator. It's a brotherhood of driven men who are committed to becoming stronger leaders at home, not just at work. And if that sounds like the kind of man you want to become, you can apply using the link in the show notes below. We're almost wrapped up here, so when we do, scroll down, hit the link, and apply on the website. Listen, if this episode has helped you today, send it to another man who could use it, who needs to hear it, all right? Because strong families start with strong fathers. And as always, listen, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your time. You've heard me say this before. Time is the only currency we spend without knowing the remaining balance. I could have 60 days, or 60 years, or 60 minutes. You could too. And so the fact that you've given me the last 40 minutes or so of your time is not lost on me. So thank you. Listen, I'm in your corner. We'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning into the Dad Nation podcast today. Listen, if today's conversation challenged you, if it encouraged you or helped you level up in any area of your life, would you do me a favor? Take 60 seconds to rate and review the show on whatever platform you're listening on. This helps us reach more men who need to hear this message. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Dad Nation YouTube channel, where you're going to find full episodes, clips, and exclusive content designed to help you win at home just like you do at work. All right, remember, your family does not need perfection. They need your presence. Your leadership matters. So keep showing up, keep leveling up, and never forget, when the dad gets better, the whole family wins. We'll see you next time.